Hello, and welcome back to Straight Talk about PTSD. This presentation is going to be about attachment basics, or what's love got to do with PTSD. If you've heard of attachment before, it has probably been in the context of an infant's relationship to their biological mother. And if that's where you've heard it before, you might be wondering, why are we talking about this thing called attachment on a channel about trauma? I mean, isn't attachment something that only concerns little kids? And even so, what do infantile and toddler experiences, most of which people cannot even later consciously recall, have to do with how their life turns out? What does attachment have to do with trauma and PTSD? Well, if trauma can legitimately be seen as subjectively experienced threats to one's safety and survival, if the perception that something is threatening elicits a person's stress chemistry and fight, flight, freeze responses, and thus creates supersized memories, and if babies and small children survive, find safety, meet needs they can't meet on their own, and develop faith in life or not, primarily through the attention, protection, actions, and care given first by their parents, then later by other family members, daycare, the neighborhood, etc. If babies and toddlers are basically helpless without adults to take care of them and protect them, then significant disruptions to a child's capacity to gain and hold their parents' attention, to know they're close by, to elicit and feel their concern, and feel protected and adequately cared for, and thus be assured that they will be safe and they will survive, well, those attachment disruptions are trauma. And they're often the earliest and most foundational trauma in a person's experience. Unattended, unprotected babies do not last long in lion, tiger, and bear country. In the book of my clinical experience, maternal and family abandonment is the worst fear of the human infant and small child. Abandonment elicits the strongest negative emotional reactions of all. Frankly, I believe that helpless abandonment is the first and remains the greatest of all human psychological fears. Furthermore, supersized memories are made of such helpless abandonment experiences and will generally last a lifetime in the unconscious mind. And the unconscious mind, in large part, is the mind of primitive, early, and extremely problematic experiences that cannot always be consciously recalled. So, what we'll soon talk about as attachment styles and attachment behaviors are experience-based adaptations to life. These attachment adaptations are to a developing human being's actual subjective experiences and memories of being loved, attended to, competently cared for, and protected, or not. I want to add a caveat. We need to be careful about assigning blame for a child developing seriously suboptimal, or technically what we call insecure attachment. Nobody, no parent, can care for any one child constantly 24/7. Nobody can prevent every illness or medical condition. All parents have to sleep sometime. They get stomach viruses. They have operations and need to be in the hospital. Most parents have to work to pay for the child's home, food, and medical care. Vaccinations and shots hurt, and you're the one making them get it. You have other children, other relationships, which also are demanding your attention. So, attachment quality is luckily not about parental perfection. Attachment quality is about being consistent, stable, competent, caring, present enough for a particular child to develop a sense of inner and outer security. Parenting, like adult life in general, is a balancing act. It's a juggling act in which balls will get dropped, especially when there's a whole lot of them. We'll talk in another presentation about what to do when these ruptures to an attachment relationship inevitably occur. Another compelling set of reasons for straight talk about PTSD to spend time discussing attachment issues is that research has demonstrated that those with poor, insecure attachment are the most likely to be victimized more than once, to become victimizers, to engage in high-risk behaviors like speeding or promiscuous sex, and adopt high-STEM, high-risk occupations. Those with insecure attachment are also the most likely to develop addictions, live shorter lives, sleep more poorly, have more medical conditions, experience greater relationship melodrama, and abuse or be abused in relationships, etc. Also, and more relevant perhaps, is that those with insecure attachment are also the most likely to develop PTSD after trauma. One, for me, landmark Army study found that when examining soldiers returning from a deployment, that 94% of newly developed cases of PTSD belong to people with insecure attachment, and only 6% of new cases of PTSD belong to people with secure or positive attachment. Finally, it's been shown by research that positive, that is, secure attachment, increases the likelihood of recovering naturally from trauma and not developing PTSD, or recovering from PTSD should it develop following trauma. Now remember, the development of PTSD is triggered by an overaccumulation of traumatic events and memories. So the presence of the memories leading to the development of poor insecure attachment are trauma and therefore contribute to the development of PTSD. Now, attachment refers to the positive or negative quality of one's relationships, relationship attitudes, relationship patterns, and relationship behaviors. These attachment styles form the core of human relationship patterns, often beginning in very early childhood or even in utero, and generally, but not always, persisting throughout the lifespan. For the poorly raised, overly vulnerable, and multiply traumatized child or adult, a quality life with peace of mind, optimal or true self, and intimate relationships does not generally come about spontaneously, effortlessly, or naturally. In those conditions, a quality life usually has to be earned. Human beings naturally adapt to memories, especially early and intense memories, not to wishful and hopeful thinking. We create our maps out of our experiences, and these maps then guide our lives moment by moment for better and for worse. De-adapting from post-traumatic adaptations such as insecure attachment does not come naturally, does not come quickly, nor easily. This unlearning, this de-adapting from trauma process, along with incorporating new and healthier learning, is what quality treatment and this channel are all about when maps are dominated by poor attachment and other traumatic experiences. In the book of my clinical experiences, it is clear: overcoming attachment trauma is neither easily nor quickly accomplished, but with the right psychotherapy, the right psychotherapist, the right support, and the right reparative experiences, it can be done. In our next Straight Talk about PTSD presentation, we're going to look at the most common patterns and styles of attachment that people develop in response to their early environment and their early experience. If you're not a subscriber, I'd like to welcome you to subscribe by hitting the subscribe button on the channel below. And if you'd like to be notified whenever a new presentation is posted, you can hit the bell icon as well. Thanks for listening, and I hope to see you later.